Hey guys, this is Cheryl here to do a review and a recap of season of the first season on episode 4, and we see that one of the gangbangers, um, Burton's Burton's friend. I don't know his name. I can't pronounce his name. I gotta figure it out. I'm gonna practice again. And we find out that this young fellow is a part of the King gang. And he has his own place. And we see him earning money from all of the drug actions and all of the drug deals that we see. We also see that Fish and KJ is basically waiting in the car at this friend's apartment, where they found a phone that they found in Tish's son's house, Tish's son's bedroom. And so they basically is waiting for him to make a move, and so they want to question him. And in the meantime, we see that by KJ and Fish going to the butler's house and basically telling them that their son's case is still open, that it is now considered a homicide, and the person that they thought that was basically the person who hit their son is not the person. So we see Isaiah goes to the police department, and he goes to the police department and requests to see the detective Fish, which Fish is not there because he's sitting and he's waiting. He's doing some more investigation. And so Isaiah, to make a long story short, Isaiah goes to the police department. He requests for the person who's basically doing the investigation on his son. He was a little bit out of place of what he was doing. He was basically upset, and he got himself locked up. While he was got locked up, they roughed him up in the jail. You know how policemen do? They'll rough you up. You know, they'll black your eye and that. So he comes out with a bunch of bruises and stuff on his face. In the meantime, we're still sitting in the car with Fish and KJ. Come to find out that Isaiah's and Trish's son has a phone, and they found the phone in his apartment, in the bedroom. And like I was telling you guys earlier, Fish is kind of cynic because he thinks that every black guy who basically is hanging with um, people are part of a gang, or he's selling drugs and everything like that. So he didn't have anything too nice to say. The writing had a lot of racial stuff. He said a lot of racial things, and personally, I really don't want to say a lot of stuff that he was thinking that Isaiah and Tish's son was doing. But make a long story short, the son was not a part of a gang, but he insinuated that he was. And so we go on and we find out a little bit more about Fish. Apparently, what's happening is that Fish is basically he's in his 30s, and he is a divorcee, and his wife um has come to the police department and is requesting for Fish not to go through divorce court and not to put their daughters through a lot of problems by them divorcing their kids and everything. And so we see Fish's daughter basically comes and have a conversation with her father. She tells her father that she does not want to live with him. And of course, Fish is basically taking it a little bit harder. But he eventually caved in and said that, well, the daughter and they came to a conclusion that they would be the mother and father would be co-parenting. And so we go on, and then not only do we find a little bit more about Fish, but we also find out a little bit more about KJ. KJ is in the upper part of New Jersey, where all of the big houses, all of the mansions, and the $1 million houses, and she's there to help celebrate her father's 64th birthday. And so we find out that KJ is basically coming from an upper class, well to do black family. And we get a chance to meet the father. The father, this is interesting. The father is light skinned, and of course, looks like he has like three daughters. And we get to see KJ and the father um, mingling and having conversations and everything. It comes to find out the father is or was a lawyer. And he tells, so KJ tells him exactly what kind of case that she is handling. She's in the homicide and it's like a hit and run. So the father tells her that she has to basically kind of sort of toughen up because cases like that, the hit runs, are very, very hard to win, and basically they you don't come out with too much people. Whoever does it don't really get too much time. So she's kind of basically upset. So what she does is like she throws down her wine glass because they were having wine. She throws out her wine glass down on the floor because they outside in the snow. It was a beautiful scene, and she storms out. In the meantime, while she's storming out, we see that Tish and Isaiah makes it out of the jail. Tish is basically on her way to school, but she doesn't stay. She doesn't. She really can't really stay. And so in the meantime, we see that back on the other side of town, we see that Pete has basically rolled up on these group of dope dealers. And this guy comes to the car, and Pete puts a gun in his face and tell him that he wants to make a deal or whatever. And so then we see Pete go to the police department, and we see him approach D'Angelo. And basically, make a long story short, he becomes a dirty cop also. So he gets involved with handling, dope and everything. And so D'Angelo tells him, saying, look, we do not bring our business into the office. And so in the meantime, Pete is getting involved. We see that Fish has basically found Nadine. He's found Nadine somewhere in some kind of house where she was all drugged up and everything. And so basically what happens is that Fish puts her in the back of the car, keeps her there for overnight so she could basically, chill out. And so once she chills out, she comes to she wakes up and Fish takes her to the court to the jail and get ready to charge her and everything. And so basically, Fish asks her a bunch of questions. He asked her, what did you see? And she said, I basically saw three guys. And he tells her, okay, well, we're going to have to lock you up anyway because, like I said, he's very cynical because he didn't really believe her. So what happens was that he locks her up, and we see that D'Angelo, Murphy, and Felix is basically in the police department, the police, and she sees them because they're getting ready to go back out. And so what she does is that she puts her hoodie over her head, and I just happen to have one, guys. She puts her hoodie over her head like this, right? And so Fish basically sees, what's that she, everything has beginning to change. And so Fish basically asks her, well, what's going on? Why? I mean, all of a sudden your demeanor and everything has changed. And so this is when she, kind of sort of facing, where the mirror is, where you can see, when they questioning people, you can see inside and you can see outside. And so she's basically, letting Fish know that the three men that she saw was like this. She did like this. She did like that to basically let Fish know. And this is why she was covering her head, because she didn't want anybody, she didn't want them to recognize her. So she was pointing, she didn't point, but she, used her eyes and said that they, right there. And so when Fish looked over, that's when he realized that, remember, I was telling you that he was basically running his mouth. He was really telling them everything, what was going on, and the person gave him Nadine's name and everything, right? And so while Nadine is telling them, bitch, what she saw, this is when KJ basically calls and asks Fish, what's up with Nadine? Have you found out any information? And so Nadine tells Fish, yes. The car that basically she saw was a black and a red car. And KJ was basically in front of the police department. And she was getting out of the car. And this is when we see that KJ had saw the three guys. And, they, D'Angelo, Murphy, and Felix were Murphy and Felix was really just minding their business, but D'Angelo was basically has saw KJ because he knows that she's the prosecutor who's doing this case and is investigating this case. So he was walking and he was basically looking back at her, right? And so this is when we find out that now it gets really, really dirty. It's because it's getting ready to get a little bit more intense. And so in the meantime, we're dealing with Fish and Nadine. But before that, we I'm gonna take you back to the house where Isaiah and Tish is. And Tish decides she wants to cook a good meal, and she cooks roast beef and she cooks all of this, right? And Seth is there, right? And so Isaiah comes in. He takes off his coat and he hangs his coat up, right? And he comes directly to Seth. And that's when he started powering in and started fighting them. And all that good food and everything, the roast beef, the home cooked meal, because Seth has told his sister-in-law that he really hasn't seen a good, decent meal since he's been, he didn't have it when he was in, when he was in the service. Now, this scene right here reminds me of Jason lyrics. And the reason why I said it reminds me of Jason lyrics, it reminds me when Jason had a brother who was basically locked up and who got back involved with the drug scene. And his mother basically was working at a convenience store and everything. And I guess he stole out because it's been a long time. But anyway, to make a long story short, the scene where they knocked all the food off and Isaiah and Seth goes in it because Isaiah tells him that I don't want nothing to do with this drug money. The drug that he got to pay off the hospital bills and stuff like that. He basically got it from the Kings and it's drug money. And I don't want to deal with nothing with the drug money. I can take care of my own. And so this is when Seth and Isaiah got into it, and Seth was questioning his God, his Christianity, his faith. And this is when he basically left. Now, getting back to the police department and Fish and Kate and KJ, they have stumbled upon this dirty cops, and it's cops that's involved in this hit and run homicide. And so we go on and we see um Tish. Tish just went to school and was basically getting ready to go to school and go to work, but she basically changed her mind. And the reason why she's changed her mind is because she's still dealing with the grief. Now she's driving, and while she's driving, she see a bunch of cops and everything locking up drug people on the streets and everything. And then she saw Pete. Pete was the person who came into the hospital, and she basically saw him, and she basically recognized him, but she couldn't really because previously KJ wanted her to go to a sketching artist to kind of sketch it out to get some clarity and some identification, but she couldn't do it. But when she rolled up on Pete and the policemen, they were locking up drug dealers and stuff. Pete basically had that same outfit he had on when he came into the hospital. Now, and and she sees him through the rear view window, and she looks at him again, and this is when it's over. Like I said, I just wanted to hit some of the major key points to kind of get you all to see what's going on. It is slow. I'm gonna tell you, it is slow, but it is good because it keeps you wondering. And one of my person who checked out the video that I did yesterday, she said she doesn't think she said she got through episode 3, but she said she doesn't excuse me. Well, she said she doesn't think that she's gonna be able to keep up with it. It's because the prosecutor, she doesn't like the prosecutor because she says that the prosecutor is, I don't really know. I'm kind of in agreements with you on this one, Kathy. I'm kind of in agreements with you on this one because she also tried to come on to Fish after her father kind of beat her up a little bit. So she, after she tried to come on to him, and I guess they didn't get together. But anyway, I'm kind of in agreement with you. But like I said, Tish saw Pete, and so she recognized him, and that's when everything went off. That's all I got. But I'm going to tell you that this, like I said in my previous one, this is really slow, but it's very intense. And some of the racial slurs and stuff that they're talking and they're saying amongst each other, I'm really not really trying to deal. I know it's a part, and it's a part of what's really going on in our society today, especially when it deals with brown and black people of color and the police department, and that there is a lot of corruption within the police and within the law and order department. But look, this is it. I've done it again. I'm giving you a review and a recap. I like for you to do a couple of things. That's to click the notification. That's to share. That's to subscribe. And that's to comment. And really to comment to kind of let me know if I'm on the right track. I'm going to continue on. We have about 6 more episodes to do, and I'm going to do them blow by blow. Like I said, I'm doing it. I've already seen it, but I'm doing a review and a recap for those who haven't seen it, and for those who want to just go over there and click it out. In the meantime, look, I'm done. I'm out. And you know what I'm getting ready to say? Peace and love. And I ain't got nothing else. What else? That's it. Until next time. Peace.